Oh my god. Right, I think it's streaming. Put it on every single Discord. Right, we are not live. Yeah, we are.
Yeah, we are.
Professionalism is going really well this time. Hopefully this time the sound is all good. I've tried to configure some stuff. I should sound a little bit better. If I don't, well, that was, for nothing. That's fine. Can people tell me whether or not, the audio sounds alright? And Rob's asking already, he's got requests. He's asking you to play a song.
Oh no.
Whoa, that wasn't that was, honestly, you might as well just be like a...
Damn.
You should join a band, and that is the one note you play.
Nice.
It sounds good. Oh my god.
For once.
That is madness. Well, hello everybody, and welcome to Indie Dev Chat, a live-streamed weekly show where I speak to fellow indie developers, usually content creators, but I am planning on mixing that up shortly. But yeah, today I'm here with... Your mic quality is low. What?
I am not your mic quality is low, I'm Peter.
Today I'm with Peter from Hunterson Studio, so hello, Peter.
Hello. How are you doing?
Well, I'm doing alright, just thought I'd make some changes to the Indie Dev Chat. People probably noticed in the background that, it's moving. I mean, that is just, wow. That was mind-boggling. It took me so long to make a slideshow, even though there's like a slideshow component thing. Hello, Tom. Welcome. Question: do you think it's a good idea to do multiplayer and procedural generation as your first indie game project? No.
Well, Rob, first of all, this is not my first game project. It might be the first one I will release on Steam. But I have 7 games on itch, I believe, personal games. No, my personal itch. And other than that, I have 174 Unity projects in my folder. So yeah, it's not my first game, but it will be the first one that I will release. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, me personally, I wouldn't.
I think it's a good idea to do multiplayer and it also depends on how you define procedural generation, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, of course, if you look at No Man's Sky, it is multiplayer now, or has multiplayer, and it's all procedurally generated.
Yeah, that is a crazy
achievement.
Thing. Yeah. But then you gotta look at how it started out.
Yeah. Wait, are you saying that my game will first flop and then it will rise up?
Well, I mean, if it does, at least you would have a lot of success afterwards.
That is very true. Yeah.
A question from Rob. If we went down the pub with your friends, what would they say about you? Ooh.
Wow.
That is a deep question. First off, you're assuming he has friends.
Yeah, I was about to say, I have friends? What? I would say they think I am shy. I am very yay, English. Alone wouldn't be the right thing to say, but I would be very, on my own.
Isn't that the same thing? I see what you mean. You're quite, you keep to yourself quite a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I do the same. I like working alone, but I love how I say that, yet I live stream. But no. I mean, I think one thing your friends probably say, like, look, judging by your background and judging by the two posters on your wall, I have a feeling you might like Lord of the Rings a little bit, or
I
not.
mean, I saw the poster and I was like, oh, I just wanna have it because it's like a construction site poster and it just says "You shall not pass," and I was like, let's go.
Well, where did the arrows to the knee one come from? Was that the same reasoning, or was that
uh,
afterwards?
yeah, it does say danger above it, so it's also like a danger, like a hazard poster, like
So your
be
room's
aware,
your
arrows
room's
to the knee.
dangerous then, is what you're saying.
Yeah, yeah. I do have some other
Also,
posters with. Yeah.
you shall not pass is on the wall. So like, you saying you can't go through the wall? Like,
I can't. Like my life has no clip is disabled, so it's like
oh that no man.
yeah, it
I
really
wish I
sucks.
had like admin privs, you know.
Yeah, true.
Um,
Admin to my own life.
Sol asks, what's one thing we've treasured you aren't looking forward to doing?
What am I not looking forward to doing? Um, I think
Finishing
the
it.
hardest, yeah, the hardest part will be like the small details. So you have a menu, and then there will be an options menu, and then all of these menus, and I'm making sure they work. But then, yeah,
Oh no,
like
I agree.
the small 10%. It's yeah.
Yeah, no,
I would
I
say
would.
the last 10% won't be fun.
Yeah, well, I mean, it never really is. Like, Millions of Millions,
No.
like right towards the end, it was just bug fixing, and like we still didn't fix everything, but I mean, no, we fixed everything. But no, the ending bit was so dull. Like, it was just like,
Hmm.
oh, what task do I do? Oh, well, bug
What
fix.
doesn't work? Ah, now I
Yeah,
need to fix
yeah,
that.
yeah,
Oh, but it
exactly.
broke two other things, so now I need to also fix those. And yeah,
Yeah, no,
true.
I would agree with you. It's like the worst in the world. Uh,
Hmm.
Rob asks, who are your favorite YouTubers? You can't say me, which is that's not fair. You can't
Matt,
say Rob, and you can't say Sol.
I mean, who do we have? Zach is in chat, so I have to please him by saying him. Tom is also in chat, so I also. um, I would say, I mean, I wouldn't be a developer on YouTube without mentioning Thin Matrix. I
Hmm.
mean, everybody knows him, so that
No,
was
I
also
have no idea who that is.
who
Could
is
you?
that? I mean, he is I think the inspiration for almost all of the YouTube, like the dev tubers.
Yeah, no, for
So,
real.
other than that, I would say who have I watched? Like Jonas. Um, you know, when you get questions and it's like, ah, I know these things, but then now people are asking me and I don't
Yeah,
know.
yeah, yeah.
It's
Well,
always like, wait,
I completely understand that. I've had this podcast for like 2 years, and like, I've had questions asked. I'm like, no idea.
can I get a quick look on my subscription feed? Uh, Ponty Pants?
Oh,
Yeah,
Ponty's. Oh, I love Ponty.
yeah. It's great to see his development. Also, I do have the feeling he's not really. He doesn't really know game dev that much, which is still then it's an even better achievement to do game
Yeah,
dev.
well, I tried to get him on here, and he said like he hasn't done game dev for long enough,
Hmm.
and like, yeah,
He
so
doesn't feel like he earned it or something.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. Um. Yeah. I don't. It's so hard. I would, if you would ask me the question, and then I would just chill out for a few hours. I would just give you so many people I watch, but then now it's like, ah, crap. I don't know.
Yeah.
Uh, other than Matt, Rob, and Saul, I would say this channel called Hunterson Studio is also pretty good. You know?
No, I've never heard of
No, no, understandable,
him.
understandable.
Uh, question from Rob again. as usual. It wouldn't be a stream
Yeah,
without
true.
Rob asking
True.
questions. What released game do you wish you could work on?
A released game.
Yeah,
Okay. I would say No Man's Sky.
that's fair. I think I'd like.
Mm,
I mean, released franchise maybe could be a little extension. Like I would like to work for like the Little Big Planet company, Media Molecule,
mm,
who also made Dreams, or Sumo Digital who made Sackboy. One of those two.
mm.
But I mean, I guess that's not really working on a released game. But you know, I'd want to work on their next thing.
Mm.
Um,
Which is?
No idea. I think
I
they're
just
still.
want to
I think
work
they're
on it.
still working on Dreams. Actually, I think. I don't
I
know.
mean, it has kind of blown up a little bit.
Yeah. Well, people make games and stuff, in
Yeah,
Dreams.
true.
It's pretty cool.
Hmm.
You can ask Rob one question. What is it?
What is it?
Rob, my question, I have to say, is why do you ask so many questions?
I would ask, like, where do these questions come from?
Yeah. Why and where?
He has like a little hat next to him, and he just grabs a piece of
No, no,
paper,
no.
and
I,
it
th- I
just
think
says a
you're,
question.
I think you're thinking too, like, obviously. He actually, like, goes into his brain and, like, pulls out a piece of paper. He's like,
We are actually thinking too three-dimensional. He's like a being from the the fourth dimension, and he can just grab questions from like thin air.
yeah, yeah. He's just Thanos, but just with questions.
The infinite
he,
question.
he snaps his fingers and he gets the question.
Yeah, true. Half the questions though.
Yes, very true. Rob again. If
Of
you had
course.
infinite time and budget, what would be your dream game to make?
Oh yeah, that's a question I hear a lot on this chat, dev chat. It would be I think an RPG, and it would kind of like an Age of Empires RPG. So at the start of the game, it will be like, well, it won't be like Stone Age, but maybe it will be older. And then as you progress through the game, the actual time also continues with you. So the whole game basically changes based on how long you have played. So you will start off with just like sword and shield and then a bow, and then as you progress, gunpowder is invented. So then you get bombs and pistols and all that stuff, and then I don't know, like plasma weapons. That's a really big difference, but something like that, where instead of it always being the same, because if you play Skyrim now, like they haven't invented anything,
Yeah,
and of course, if you just play the game, that doesn't take away your immersion. But I don't know. I think it would be something cool where just the game progresses as you play it.
yeah. Imagine like with Civilization, lots of games. Like you play through like a whole thing. Like I imagine that sort of thing, but with your format, yeah. Eventually, you get like nuclear bombs to set off.
No, Gandhi, don't.
Oh yes. Oh. Yeah, Rob has given us an answer to our questions, by the way. He said why,
Oh.
because it's fun, and where, because he has a Trello list that he keeps updating.
He just thinks of questions, just types them in the Trello list, and then every time the indie dev chat starts, he's like, okay, let's just put in the first question, and then the second question. And then,
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
that's a good way of doing it.
yeah. And he actually he said the reason he's actually really good with it is because he interviews a lot of people at work. So that actually makes a lot more sense.
True. I mean, please don't ask too many specific programming questions then.
Yeah, he gets the web dev book out and he's like, "Are you ready?"
Oh boy.
All right, so I'd say we should discuss our multiplayer stuff, right? Because we're both working on, Yeah, we're both working on multiplayer games, and
Hmm.
actually, I think a lot of people in the chat at the moment are making multiplayer games. We got Rob, we got Zach, we got Tom, we got you and me.
Hmm.
That's 5 people.
True.
That's
Although, like what Tom does, I mean, we can't really compare with
well,
with that
no, but
because
he's still making a multiplayer game though.
true. Although he's making like the multiplayer framework, he's like the guy we need if something happens.
Yeah, he's the multiplayer god. That's what I imagine.
Yeah.
But yeah, so do you want to quickly?
Oh God.
I didn't actually say this at the start of the stream because I was an idiot.
Uh,
But do you want to maybe introduce yourself and what you do? Hello? Uh-oh.
oh.
Hello?
Oh no.
I think we may have lost some connection.
Oh.
Hello?
Hello?
Is it better now?
Are we back?
Yeah, I think it was your end. Oh, was it my end? Oh. I don't know. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm sorry about that. I don't know what that was. Oh
I
well.
thought my stream died. Oh.
It was my end, I think. But I can still hear you. That's weird. Okay, whatever.
Yeah,
Anyway,
you still sound a little demonic on my end.
I sound demonic. What?
Yeah, like the story. Oh, now it's.
I'm like, oh. Okay.
Okay.
Well, the thing I said was I kind of forgot at the start to get you to introduce yourself and tell us about what you are making and stuff, which is rule number 1 of the podcast. Would you like to do so?
I mean, we're already how long in?
No, don't
15
look.
minutes?
Don't look.
Okay. We're not 50 minutes in. The stream just started.
Yeah, it's just started, guys.
God, now I'm introducing myself right now. So weird. So I am Peter, also known as Casual Dutchman, because I'm a very casual Dutchman. And I have a YouTube channel, which is Hunterson Studio, where I create my game Treasured, which is a very casual co-op game where you play as
a Dutchman. No, sorry.
It's like Indiana Jones, but then more casual and a little bit, yeah. It will just be easier to play. I've derailed the stream. Oh no. Yeah, it's describing the game. It's very minimalistic. You know, I want everyone to just play the game.
Right. Of course.
Yeah. So if you can just grab hold of a controller and then that's basically, yeah, now you can already play the game.
Oh my god.
Oh my god. Yeah. The basics of the game are basically you just walk around, you own a museum, or you work for a museum. That is still up for
Right.
I still need to think about that. But you're in a museum, and then you can go to a pedestal, and then the level startup will play. So the screen will go black, it will go to the level, and then you need to complete the level. You can do it via platforming, jumping over. I mean, that's platforming. Like solving puzzles. And then at the end, there will be this artifact, and then it just cuts back to the museum, and now you have collected the artifact. Yeah. So it will be very, I wouldn't necessarily say easy levels, but they will be short for more experienced gamers.
Mm-hmm.
So it will just be something fun to play. It will not be
a casual game, as you said.
Yeah, you don't really need to think about it. Although I do think I will be adding some stuff that, you know, you need to use your brain for a little bit more, but I won't really spoil anything because it will kind of be a secret thing.
Yeah. So I think a lot of people here are wondering what your plans are for the upcoming devlogs. Like maybe a bit further on, like what are your bigger plans that you think that you could maybe give us a sneak peek into?
The bigger plans. You mean like future updates or something?
Well, not necessarily future updates. Like what is next? Not how do I explain it? Obviously, you got your roadmap, but like, is there anything that like isn't in your roadmap that you could?
Can I spoil some of the future secrets? I mean, yeah, okay, we already know it now has online multiplayer.
Mhm.
Okay, great. Uh, I I might add a story, which I haven't really talked about. Yeah, I haven't really talked about the story, but mostly because I don't really know how to write stories.
Mhm.
But also, I first want to have the foundation of the levels done. So first, you can just basically everything I've just said, like go to the museum, go to a pedestal, start a level, finish a level. I want to first make sure that works, and then I can start with adding content. So more levels, but also the story mode.
Mhm. What,
Yeah.
well, what sort of environments are you planning for the levels then? Because obviously, right now we've only seen the I don't know really know how you describe it, but you know what I'm talking about, like
The
the
yellowish.
bricky sort of
Yeah.
thing. What else are you sort of thinking of?
Well, currently we have kind of lush sandstone ruins.
Yeah,
So
I
that's
think
more
that's
like
a much better explanation.
so that is of course more like Aztec or Mayan temple kind of
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah,
Temple, it will just be temple. um, but then if you just get rid of the vegetation, it already looks like a more deserty temple. So then it would be more like the Egyptian, the temples from the pharaohs. Maybe I can just change the color of the bricks and they are gray, and now it's more of a Western temple kind of thing.
yeah.
And that is also something I will look into when I create the levels. So instead of just creating a palette that works, like a color palette that works, and I don't know, some random artifact at the end, I do want to look into not necessarily real life stuff, but at least stuff that makes sense.
Mhm.
So yeah, that is still something I need to look into. Maybe there will be. This is a very big if, but maybe there will be like ice temples.
Well,
Could be.
you see, guys, I've pulled the information. But yeah, no, I mean, I'll be honest, like it's pretty exciting because a game like yours is something that I would play like anyway. Like even before, like I really, we even spoke. Like I think I don't know when I saw your first devlog. I think it was probably when you tagged me for the Christmas thing. I think maybe. But I might have checked you out
Okay.
before. I don't know. But one thing that like like, when you said that it would be like local multiplayer, I was like, oh, okay.
I'm down.
Well now this is what I'm talking about. Because there's not really many local multiplayer games that are being made, and with you like making another like option, the online multiplayer and local multiplayer,
Mm.
it's like okay, now this is good.
I mean, the local or online multiplayer was also kind of added because, well, currently we can't really go to friends' houses
Yeah,
and play games together locally.
yeah, of
So
course.
the online version is also kind of to remedy that.
Hmm.
Um, but of course, you have these different programs, Parsec or Steam Remote Play. Of course, those options are there, but it's always easier if people can just press go online and that's it.
Yeah. Well, yeah, just like limiting the process to actually play with any of your friends. I mean, it's very important, especially now, like as you say, people can't really meet up too much at the
Mm.
moment. Like it's good to really have as many accessible options as possible, and like is like accessibility as a whole, like is that something that you're planning at all, or like what are your plans for that sort of thing?
Well, if you've watched the previous Indie Dev Chat, I mean, of course you have, Matt.
Have
You
I?
were there. But if you
Oh,
watched the last one, it was with Etra. Etra, yeah, who's really focused on the accessibility,
mhm.
especially for people who don't play games,
Yeah,
which is also something interesting. But I have a whole list of just accessibility things that I would like to implement. So if I have a story mode, for example, a lot of stuff is well, it will not necessarily be spoken because limitations of voice actors and stuff like that.
yeah,
But there will be something on screen. There will always be text on screen with that, and I would like, and this will probably be in an update later, but I would like people to change the font. So if they don't like the font, they can choose between a few options. There's also this open
yeah. I know
dyslexia,
what you're talking about. Yeah,
which is a font especially made for people with dyslexia. So that is something. If I can implement that, of course, not everyone with dyslexia will read what is on screen immediately because you now change the font, but it
yeah,
might be easier for them.
yeah,
Or
yeah.
like changing the font size so people can read it a lot better, especially
Hmm.
for people who are sitting on a couch watching a TV and then you have this really tiny text at the bottom of the screen.
Yeah.
That will not work. So those things are I don't yeah I am not sure, but it sounds like they would be easy to implement.
Yeah.
And
Well, I
if I
think.
can do such a small thing, it will already add a lot of more people can then play the game,
Mhm.
and that's always I really like that.
Yeah. Well, I think like now, especially as indies, it's very important to open up as many possibilities for people because indies we play a very important role in game dev as a whole. We have
Mm,
like AAA companies taking inspiration from us quite a lot, and like if we can really push the accessibility, we can really push like having as many play styles, play options, whatever. It's very important so that as I spoke with Luke last week, where we were talking about just opening up as many possibilities for anyone to play. It's very important that that is a possibility. And of course, AAA like games, they're gonna start catching on to that, and they'll be like, oh, we can make loads more money if we do this, And whilst yes, like of course their focus is probably going to be on money side of things rather than like actually, caring. Well, not necessarily, but like in the grand scheme of things,
mm,
that is roughly what AAA companies are like now. And
true.
if they can see that it's getting like indies popularity as bad as it sounds, they'll follow the same sort of thing, and hopefully we'll see like a much better whatever it is environment for gamers, I suppose.
Yeah,
But
and
yeah.
of course it will take indies a little bit more time because a AAA company can just tell a few people to work on the font and font size setting, and that is done within a few days. And as an indie, especially like if you just look at me or Matt or Rob or Saul or Zach or Tom, let's not name all of them, but we are on our own and we have to implement that stuff on our own, and that will take a lot of time. And why do indies not, I wouldn't say they don't do it, but it's harder for them to add it because it will take time, and if you can spend that time instead to create more interesting gameplay,
Mhm.
that also sounds way better.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's a balance of like, do I want that feature or do I just focus on the game?
Yeah, I think there's a lot like indies have a much bigger responsibility I'd say like we are technically like the pioneers of a lot of features, but then like AAA titles then follow suit usually.
Hmm.
Like I
We keep
think
them in check.
yeah, I think that the best game that I can think of with AAA, accessibility would probably be The Last of Us 2. Like that had
Hmm.
like 100 accessibility options, and that is the sort
True.
of thing that should be the norm, I'd say. Like not necessarily for indies, sure, but like
Hmm.
for
If you
AAA
have the
companies,
money,
yeah, of course. Like
yeah,
if you have the resources to do so, then you should really.
yeah.
But
And then
like,
if we already have the example of The Last of Us 2, it's not that hard to then also, I mean, copy that, you know?
yeah, yeah,
I
to a
mean, they
certain
put a lot
degree,
of
true.
research in it,
Yeah,
on it. So now people know, like, oh, actually adding like a feature where the main player is blue and then all of the enemies are just red and then the rest is just white. It already adds so much more approval to a game or a company. Like,
yeah.
it shouldn't be that hard for, especially for AAA companies, of course.
Yeah, yeah. Soul just said, I'd say AAA and indies take inspiration from each other, in my opinion. Yeah, that's definitely true. It's like a, how do I say it? That would sound really weird. It's like a, I don't know, like it's a shared bond, I suppose. And like we always take inspiration from like a lot of AAA games because
Hmm.
they do take up a large majority of the market, and then at the same time we take inspiration from indies at the same time. Like we take inspiration from every game really. Like especially
True.
AAA companies, like they have dedicated researchers to stuff like this, and like
Hmm.
they'll like fully put like 3 months or 4 months writing some huge document on accessibility or whatever it is, and that they will take into account like a lot of the indie like stuff that people have done.
True. But also it is also not necessarily true, because if you look at indie games versus AAA games, which one of those two has the most microtransactions? You know,
Mm.
why don't indie games would probably profit more off of it, because now it's a live service and they can actually make sure servers keep on running, because they actually need to pay for it, and it's a bigger percentage for them than a AAA company, because
Hmm.
they already have like $1 million before they actually start with
Yeah,
development.
yeah,
So yeah, it's a really weird thing with the AAA and indie scene, because they do copy each other, but it's also they also think about their own stuff,
yeah. No,
money.
most definitely. Like, yeah, Rob's just said AAA will only do it if governments make laws, as AAA is driven by cost benefit.
Mm,
The cost is high for serving a small group of players. It's very true. And like the reason I'm saying like AAA games taking like inspiration from us and following it, obviously that's gonna, well, potentially it could lead to laws being in place eventually. Like, of course, it
mm,
could be in many years, but it's still there. And obviously, AAA games have much more influence than indie titles do. Even if you could have like an indie title that does really really well, and like I just can't really think of many examples. Like let's say Undertale, right? Like it could
mm.
do really well like Undertale, but it's not going to have as much influence as a AAA
True.
company that has
I
been
mean,
established for like 25 years or so.
there are so many games that, can we still call them indie games?
Right, yeah, like double A,
Minecraft,
yeah.
double A.
That's
Yeah.
the, well, I think,
I mean, like Minecraft, Terraria, No Man's Sky. I mean, those are technically still indie games, but they
yeah,
are like, they compete with AAA games, which I
yeah,
wish I would, but
yeah.
also I wish I didn't, because all of the legal stuff that comes with it. Yay!
Yeah.
But yeah, it is a yeah. Now we're getting into the weird scene of AAA. Is it AAA? Is it not AAA?
Yeah, yeah. There's a weird grey area, isn't there?
True.
Yeah. And yeah, Rob says the question they ask is how many more games will we sell with feature X, and if the number of sales makes less than the cost, it won't happen, which is very true.
Mm.
Yeah,
I mean,
but
that's the reason why a lot of companies don't really. Well, maybe they think about accessibility features, but then it's like, well, if we have a million gamers and only 10,000 of them don't have like the motor skills to hold a controller, we don't really need to change the button mapping or like add a feature for players to remap buttons, because if you have the accessibility, I don't know what the name is, but you have the Xbox controller. It's
mhm.
not really a controller, but it's like this big pad, and then
Oh
you can
yeah,
put your own buttons into it for people with motor skill issues.
mhm.
I mean, if you just add button remapping to your game, those people can now also play your game because of that controller. And
Yeah,
if you
yeah.
don't add the button remapping, then it might be harder for them to play the game. So
Mhm.
just like adding the small detail of like remapping your button for jump can already change so much.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so much like that is possible even if you don't dedicate too much time on it. And yeah, Tom, sorry for not asking the question
Hmm.
yet. I was just sort of having a convo, and then we'll answer the questions. I don't like to just answer the questions all the time. But Peter, we the people want grappling hooks. Will you fulfill our dreams?
I saw it. I was thinking about like a grappling hook or something. I was thinking about giving all of the different players different abilities, but then it's also really hard because let's say you are with three friends, so four people, and all of the different characters have different abilities.
Yeah.
Like, how do you create a level for that? Because of course it works for those four people, but then if you get rid of two of them, you now miss two abilities. So it's
Hmm.
yeah. I am still looking into abilities players have. So there might be a grappling hook, or I also read before a
Like a
whip.
whip. Yeah.
Maybe, yeah. So with the whip, the first thing that probably comes to mind is like defeating enemies, kind
Hmm.
of with Spelunky. I mean, he has a whip, I guess. So you can just whip enemies and now they're gone. Uh, I that's one of the other things with Treasured. I would like to not add too much violence,
Yeah.
because it's really easy to just add enemies and then you either need to shoot them, kill them, or something like that. And it's a very basic game design thing. You need to defeat someone to win, and I'm not saying that is bad. Maybe I'm saying I'm adding like a restriction to myself
Yeah. Yeah.
by by not giving the players the ability to kill stuff. So yeah, I'm still very much debating with myself on like, do I want to add enemies? I also have this like gray area of like, should I add traps? Like, if you can't kill enemies, should the game then be able to kill you as the player?
Right. Right. Yeah. Well, there's definitely like a lot of stuff you need to think about with that. But like, I'd say like with
Just in
it,
general, a lot of stuff to think about.
yeah, yeah. Well, isn't that just game dev anyway?
True.
But like one thing that I'd probably suggest with like the whip would
Mm.
probably be like just having the ability to hit your friends would be pretty nice. Like, like of course, the game is supposed to be casual and stuff. You want to take
True.
away violence as much as possible, but I'd say just like, hitting your friends with a whip would be pretty funny. Like you just sort of like, let's say they're holding one of the artifacts or whatever, and you just whip them and then take
They
it from
drop it.
them. Yeah, you're just like, thank you.
Yeah. I mean, there are a lot of these tiny things which don't affect gameplay, but they can be so much fun. Like, I do want all of the items in the museum to be physics items.
Right.
So if you watch the last devlog, you can see like a bench in the museum. So I just want you to be able to grab that bench and then take it wherever you want. It doesn't really add anything to the, well, it does add something to the game. It just
Yeah.
it
Well, it
doesn't
doesn't add
affect the
anything to
main
the
gameplay
content.
loop.
Yeah, it doesn't necessarily add anything to the content of itself,
No,
but like it adds to like
something to
I
do.
guess it's like game juice in a like a
Mm,
broader sense, right? Like making a game more fun with like these features that even if they're not small, they can like even if they are small, they can make a huge difference. And like they don't necessarily need to impact the gameplay. Like like with
mm,
the Project Spies, the game that me and my team are working on now. Like we have the whole picking up objects and vehicles. Like sure, we don't need vehicles, but it's fun. And sure, we don't need to be able to pick up players and pick up objects, but it's fun.
true.
It's just making the game as fun as possible for as many people as possible. But
Yeah,
yeah,
true.
and yeah,
Is it?
Sal's just said he's gonna break your game, which
I mean, he already has. He already.
we have. I would like to
Yeah.
take more responsibility as well. Thank you.
Yes. Same with. Yeah. I mean, if I would maybe add a grappling hook, it might just be the whip as well, because then you just have one item and it has two features,
Yeah.
which is also a thing. Like, should you add like a thing for every feature you add? So if I add a whip and a grappling hook, like they can be combined.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, physics break it. Yeah.
But like as they said up there, they said like having it like how the Lego Indiana Jones and
Mm,
the other Lego games was like the whole grappling point thing, where like there's one point that like you can grapple to and then you grapple up,
yeah,
sort of thing. Like something like that wouldn't be too bad.
like a whole sophisticated system, like an Uncharted. Uh, I mean, that is of course one of the inspiration points. Like the games Uncharted and Tomb Raider. Of course, they are way too advanced
Yeah.
for what I am making, but they are an inspiration.
Yeah, but like the Lego games, like
Mm,
they're casual as well, right?
true.
And they use that system like where there's just one point that you just grapple to and it like just
Goes there.
zaps you up, and
Yeah,
then there you are. Like that, something like that would
like your
probably also
prototype.
yes, yeah, the prototype thing,
The
like
ninja parkour prototype thing
that we
you
don't
did on
talk
stream.
about. Yeah,
Oh, okay.
yeah,
Sorry.
yeah. But like the darn it. The big thing about it is that like um, it can be done at anyone's pace as well. Like you
Mm,
can grapple to a point whenever you really wanted, and it would add a lot of verticality. Like I think a big feature or a big important thing in level design is having verticality, and that doesn't necessarily literally mean verticality, but I mean
mm.
like
You can
adding
also go up instead of always on the same
yeah.
plane. True.
Yeah, and just like you can really change a lot of the things like that. And one thing I just came to mind, like with
Go for it.
Indiana Jones, when I hope yeah, when there's like the invisible like floor that they go across. I'm not sure if you
Mm,
remember that, but like
yeah.
something like that would be really funny. Like you just sort of just walking across this
It's a
like
leap of faith.
yeah, you're like,
Uh,
uh. Obviously, you have to have like a boulder somewhere. I'm just saying, like, no matter
yeah,
what,
yeah.
like that has to happen. And if it's not there,
So
I'm
sad.
unsubscribing.
Everyone will just unsubscribe and like try to get a refund.
No, yeah,
I mean, of course, those are some of the iconic things, and I will try to add like a lot of the iconic movie or game things.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's I guess inevitable
Hmm.
because people will ask for it, and if I have already implemented it, people will be like, "Oh
They
yes, he
won't
did
ask
it."
for it.
No, that's also true. If you have already added a feature, people can't really ask for it because you have already implemented it.
I'm sorry, Rob. That is.
I mean, Rob loves it. Yeah.
Yeah, but like, are there any other hazards that you've sort of thought about, or is that like something that you're?
Hazards as in
Yeah, like like the rolling ball is one hazard. Is there anything else you've really thought
oh
about?
I have thought about like some traps.
Yeah.
Of course, like the spike trap or the poison dart trap,
Hmm.
something like that.
Yeah.
Someone also suggested uh, like a poison trap,
Right.
and then you need to like walk through dandelions, and then of course those bursts, and then you know where the air is going, so you then know how to avoid the gas.
Right. Right. Yeah.
Uh, yeah, yeah, rolling trap, rolling ball trap, dart trap. Uh, the of course the generic pitfall.
Yeah.
You stand on a button and then the floor opens up, and now whoosh, yeah, you're gone.
Yeah. Well, I can imagine, like, you're playing with your friend, and there's this pitfall thing, and you know it's a pitfall, and you just sort of, like,
Hmm.
whip your friend, and he flies off into it. Like, stuff like
I mean,
that.
even like maybe there's like this little path, or like this pressure plate. If you stand on it, the pitfall opens for like 5 seconds and then it closes again. So
Hmm.
of course your friend jumps over it, but then you can stand on it and you can just see him fall into
Yeah.
the pit.
Yeah, that would definitely be amazing. But yeah, there's so much, like, stuff that you can do with a game like this.
Hmm,
Like there is a lot of stuff that, even after you add loads of these features, you'll still have like people asking afterwards to have more, and that's I think what you
hmm.
definitely want. You want people to be
True,
asking for more features, and
true.
you know,
I
it's-
have. I mean, if you look at the roadmap, it's basically just making sure there are levels. There is a museum that can start the levels, and then the generic stuff like an options menu and like all of the menus and making sure everything works. Like those are the generic things I would like before I release to early access.
yeah,
And then afterwards there will be story. A story will be added. uh, Accessibility options will be added. Maybe I shouldn't spoil all of those things as well. But I will also add community updates. So if
yeah,
people are like they are in chat now, like spikes, lava, crusher, cobwebs, darts, yeah, all of those stuff, if people can put it on Twitter or Discord or wherever, I can then use that for an community update.
hmm,
Or maybe they want something else they want to completely change the museum because they don't like it.
and then
That
you'll
is just
cry.
something. Yeah. No, I mean, of course it is a game I should be happy to work on, but
Yeah,
in the end it is also a game for
the community.
you guys.
Yeah, yeah, of course. Yeah.
So then if you have issues with navigating the museum, maybe I should look into changing it.
Hmm.
Or if there is some problem with procedural generation and multiplayer, maybe I should delete it completely, Rob.
Oh. Oh, I love how
No,
Rob's
but
just said. So we've had whips, big balls, and dungeons. What is this game about again?
it's a casual game. Everybody can enjoy it.
However they
Maybe
want.
just with innuendos.
Yeah.
Sounds like the dream. Yeah, it is a. There are a lot of things that can. I mean, already in chat, like spikes, lava crusher, or runaway minecarts. People already have so many ideas,
Yeah,
and I'm
yeah.
just going to
And you're
write them
writing them
down.
down. Yeah, I can hear. Or I can see as well.
I'm just stealing the ideas from the chat.
So I'm wondering as well. Obviously, the game's also got puzzle elements, and I was wondering. We haven't really spoken about it, and I haven't really heard you speak too much about it. Um,
True.
so what are the plans for puzzles then?
Puzzles. Well, uh, the puzzles from Skyrim, which are way too easy,
Right? Yeah.
where they're like, oh, I need to find three icons and I need to match them up, and then you just look up and you can see the solution.
Hmm.
Stuff like that. So very simple match color or match shape puzzles.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm not sure if you're familiar with the Rush Out game, where you have to move cars and then you need to get the red car out of the parking lot.
All right. Yeah.
I do have a devlog where I make that.
Yeah,
Where I
I
make that.
saw that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've watched all
So,
of your devlogs.
oh boy, a big fan.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then I suddenly like start over from scratch, and now the whole puzzle is gone. No,
Yeah, yeah.
a lot of the stuff that I have already implemented in like, I also sometimes call it like my first prototype
Mhm.
because I then swapped my entire like uh business side
Right,
kind
right,
of thing. So instead of focusing on gameplay elements, I was focusing on the visuals.
right.
But yeah, I will be adding a lot of those gameplay elements back. So there will be the rush hour game, uh, something like you need to time stuff. So there will be like stones coming out and like maybe on like a rhythm of music or something like that, and then you need to jump on one, and then before that one retracts, you need to jump, but then you don't see the other platform yet. So it's something like that, like puzzles to test your uh your mind, so making sure the patterns match, but also your skill with movement, so like parkour puzzles.
Mhm.
Yeah, there are still a lot of stuff I can do, and I haven't really talked about it because, well, first of all, I'm really hard at work fixing all of the player online stuff which you guys broke. So
What? I've
what?
never done that.
No, I mean, I already like pushed the build out and it was broken, so you guys enlightened me. But that's why I haven't really talked about the puzzles and all of the gameplay elements, because I was just focused on other stuff.
Right.
I mean, the roadmap currently says I am working on gameplay elements, so if I can fix all of the multiplayer player stuff, I will be going more into like puzzles and gameplay elements.
Right. Yeah. Um, I think I saw a question earlier. Yeah. So Rob asks, how do you go, or how would you go about designing a puzzle?
Uh, well, procedural generation, of course.
You're going to procedurally generate the puzzles.
Oh, I mean, there will be. I mean, what is procedural?
Right.
A lot of times we say procedural
Yeah,
generation,
but
but then
like that's
it's
often confused with random generation, isn't it? Like,
yeah.
yeah.
I mean, with my layout system currently, I would say half of it is random and half of it is procedural, because I do have something where you can define where plants grow, but then you don't really know where they grow because that is done procedurally.
Hmm.
But then, the bricks you see. I mean, I don't have the stream up, but maybe you can see them in the background.
Yeah, I
So the
think you can.
bricks or stones, those are chosen randomly.
Yeah, yeah. No,
And with puzzles, it will basically be, instead of it always being like red, green, blue, RGB, it might be, then if you play the same level a second time, it might be like yellow, orange, gray, or something like that.
mhm.
So but that is just random. So that would be one part, because it adds something else.
Yeah,
Like instead of it always being the same, you can do it differently. If you need to find different shapes, instead of them always being on the same position or like on the same location, I will add more spawn points for shapes. So
mhm.
they, instead of appearing on the same position, they might be somewhere else, and then you need to find them. So that is one thing I will do. It's like, if there is an ability for me to add some randomness to it, let's not call it procedural then I will do that, because that might add to the replayability.
Yeah,
The rush hour game, instead of always having the same configuration of blocks, I might make, I don't know, maybe there will be some pre-made layouts, or I will just make a system that randomly places them.
yeah,
There
yeah.
is, yeah. And other than that, I don't really know how I would go about designing puzzles, because I haven't really gotten to that point yet.
Well, I mean, it's gonna be an interesting journey, though. It's
Yeah,
gonna be fun to see.
I mean, that's same with Rob also said on Twitter, like procedural generation isn't worth it. Uh, that's also where maybe the weird line of like, is it random or procedural comes in. And with, I would say randomness, like adding some randomness is really easy.
Yeah.
For example, in your game, you have I think the level you have showcased a lot is a grocery store.
Hmm.
So instead of having the same shelves all of the time, maybe you can have different items in different on different shelves.
Yeah.
So instead of the vegetables being on the left, the next time you play, they're on the right,
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
now they're in the back of the store.
Yeah.
Like
Or like
those,
the bomb is like in another room, stuff like
yeah.
that. Yeah.
Because if you play the same game over and over, and nothing changes, so
It gets
even if
very
you
boring.
play
Yeah.
this, yeah, it gets a little dull. And of course, if you play the game, you might not play the same level twice. Although if you want to add more content, you need to add some kind of feature, so they need to play
Yeah.
it twice. So that was also one of the ideas. If I would add some kind of grappling hook, maybe give that to the player later on in the game, so then they can go back to the first levels they played, and now they have an extra something to go to.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, but just adding a little bit of randomness, I don't. That can't hurt anyone,
Yeah.
right?
It's not too difficult to implement, rather
No.
than the whole procedurally generated level.
It, it
Randomness is much easier.
it yeah, it does add some time to my development time, of course. But I now have a system where I just have to draw the layout, and I have the level. So I don't have to painstakingly add like floor tiles everywhere and make sure it looks like something,
Hmm.
because then, yeah, now I only have to make the layout, and I already have the layout of the level and
Yeah.
like all of the decorations and stuff.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
that is one of the benefits from procedural or random generation.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think we're getting close to the end of the podcast somehow. It's almost been an hour. Um, Now,
Somehow.
before we do stop the stream, everyone, if you have any questions, please do fire away, um, and we'll try and do like a rapid fire answering questions.
Ooh.
Let's hope Rob's not here because he might get bombarded.
He was just like copy, paste, copy, paste, copy,
Yeah,
paste
from his
his
beard,
Trello page.
or from his brain, or from his Trello, wherever he gets it
Yeah,
from.
just shake the beard and it just falls out. Oh.
What makes an indie game an indie game?
Oh yeah,
Oh, that is a
Saul already made that question.
yeah. I think he did.
I would say an indie game is defined by the amount of people that have made it,
Mm-hmm.
I think, and maybe also the funding behind it.
Yeah. Well, I'd say indie game now. It has a much broader like
Mm.
definition because there are so many people that are technically indie still, and they've got bigger and bigger and stuff, but they're still classed as indie. Like Undertale and stuff, that's still classed as indie, even though that like made an everlasting impact. Um, but I think the real definition of indie is that you publish it yourself. Like, that is literally what it is. So technically, you know, um, like No Man's Sky isn't indie because of that, right? Because they publish
They
their own
published.
game.
I mean, that isn't necessarily true, because there are some like indie publishers.
Yeah, but then that's like, is that an indie or not now?
I would still say that's an indie game, because
Yeah,
it's a small community that made a game, and it's maybe not focused on a particularly like big
yeah. I think
audience,
indie games are more targeted towards like more
a
niche
smaller group.
markets.
Yeah.
Yeah, than like AAA. AAA, obviously, they're gonna try and target every audience they can so they can get as much money as they can. Whereas, indie games, you can't really do something like that where we're targeting like, 5 different audiences at the same time. It's not necessarily the easiest thing. Like
No.
obviously it depends on the game you're making, of course. But like,
Yeah.
let's say you're making a shooter game that already cuts out a lot of communities. You're making a casual game that already cuts out a lot of communities. So
But then you get the whole issue, like if you create an FPS, you also need to be different from other games. Like if you just recreate Call of Duty or Battlefield, like why would they play it? Because they can already play that game. So you need to do something different, and that's also
no, indeed. Favorite language after C#?
People might not like it as much because it's the only language I know apart from C#. It's Java. Because I started with programming and all of that stuff by making Minecraft mods. So that's of course in Java, and I haven't really played with other languages yet. I would like to play with C++, but that takes time, and I would rather spend my time working on the game. So yeah, I would say Java.
Question from Rob: Minecraft versus Terraria procedural generation. Which one would you choose?
Which one of the procedural generation I would choose, or just
what procedural generation is better in your opinion, Minecraft or Terraria? Even though it's a little bit of a hard question to answer because
yeah. I mean, I haven't really played Terraria that much.
Honestly, I'd say Terraria probably has a better system in place than Minecraft, because Minecraft is, I think, aren't they making like updates to like the cave system though? Like,
currently,
yeah, but like at the moment,
the cave system.
Oh well, I don't know. I don't really use that. But like Terraria, you can go to hell, like literally. You can,
true.
Dig down, and then there's hell, and then you dig even further. There's like loads of stuff everywhere, and like the caves in like Terraria do feel a lot like larger, in my opinion. Like they feel like a lot more open. There's a lot more to do.
But then you get, of course, if you, I wouldn't say like comparing the games, because it's really you
can't really compare the two games. Either.
If you take the time to create a 2D cave or something, I mean, you only need to do it on 2 axes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then if you also add another one, you now have, well, a lot more extra time to make something look as good.
No, it's definitely a bit of a difficult one to answer, but like for me, like Terraria like has the verticality as well, because like it has the randomly generated like upwards and randomly generated like or procedurally generated, but whatever.
But then I still prefer Minecraft because it is more sandboxy. But that's just my opinion.
Yeah. Visual scripting, good or bad?
I don't like visual scripting.
Yeah, neither do I. I did Unreal Engine for a bit, and the only thing I could really learn from it was that like, I did like a little multiplayer thing, and that only really taught me like networking fundamentals, but like it didn't really teach me how it really works. Like to a degree it does. I think it definitely helped me, because I think without it I wouldn't even have known what an RPC was. I would probably like died.
I would say it is easier for people who don't really know programming, because you don't have to really think about the syntax.
But like I feel like if I had chosen visual scripting earlier, I wouldn't have been as far in as I am now. You know what I mean? Like,
because you kind of you are limited to what the scripting gives you.
Yeah. But like
visual scripting.
I mean, I guess it would depend on. Well, it depends on a lot, right? Like, I guess it really depends on like if you see yourself as a programmer, really. Like if you have been trying to program and you're like, don't like it, then visual scripting probably better, like because it is made for that.
Oh God.
That's nice. Okay.
Another question by Zach is like 2D game versus 3D game. I do think they have, they can both have their ups and downs.
Yeah.
Like I would prefer 3D games because it adds another axis of movement.
Mm-hmm.
But then if you create a 2D game, you can focus a little bit more on the art because now you have just 2D art, and those can be a lot more fluid.
Yeah.
And if you, yeah, I don't know, I can't really choose.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, they both have their advantages and disadvantages. Like 3D games for me, like it definitely depends on like what style of 3D we're talking, because like you have a lot of styles in 3D, and same with 2D. 2D you can have like pixel art, vector graphics. What we talking, and then like 3D games we can have like low poly, high poly. There's loads of stuff
Yeah,
that goes into
but
each of them.
yeah, with 3D, if you try to create like realistic models, I would say that is a lot harder because then you have to implement all of these different maps, specularity, normal,
Yeah.
ambient occlusion maps. So that is just a lot harder to do. I mean, that's also why I'm doing low poly, of course.
Mm-hmm. Question from Rob: Do
Of
formal
course.
Dutchmen exist? And what about
Am I
hardcore
am I not
Dutchmen?
formal enough?
Yeah, where's your suit and tie? Jeez.
I'm sorry, okay? I
Yeah,
wasn't
what?
prepared for this.
Ow! That's what I get, I guess. And a question from Skeffels: What kind of graphical style do you prefer? Retro, realistic, low poly, or something else?
Oh, of course I prefer low poly because that's what my game is. No,
Yeah.
I do like a lot of different styles. It just needs to be executed correctly. Of course, low poly can still look bad if you're not executing it correctly.
Yeah.
And that's the same with the whole retro art or realistic. It needs to be executed correctly. If you look at Battlefield 1, for example, that looks really good because it it is so realistic. But yeah, it then you get to the point like, does graphics matter more than gameplay?
Mm-hmm.
Because you like the art style, but then do you still like the game?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think also like the art style has to complement the gameplay, right?
Oh
Like
yeah.
sometimes I've found games like especially indie games where like uh, they'll make like a whatever game it is in like a low poly style, but like it sort of takes away from the seriousness of it. Like I feel like
Mm,
low poly games usually do like show that the game is most like not all the time. Obviously, it depends on what you're doing and how you're doing
true.
it. But like low poly in general, like it portrays to me like it's quite a casual sort of thing. You know.
Yeah, cartoony maybe.
Yeah, exactly. Like whereas let's say high poly games, that's taken a bit more like it's a serious game, right?
Yeah, but then it also depends. Like you can still have high poly, but if you have like
A
the
certain style.
stylized,
Yeah, yeah, of course.
yeah,
Because it really
like with
depends.
Fortnite,
Mm-hmm.
Fortnite. Oh god, it is very stylized. It is not necessarily low poly, but it's very
Yeah.
much flat colors.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then the gameplay is also kind of cartoony. It's kind of floaty. You jump really high compared to what you can do in real life. And that's the thing, right? If you have this very realistic looking game, but then you jump everywhere and the movement is not realistic, and if you have like an FPS and then guns are also not realistic, what is the point of making the game look realistic?
Yeah, yeah. No,
And that's why
I
you can get
agree.
away with low poly, because if stuff isn't realistic, then it doesn't really matter because it's low poly, you know.
Well, it's been a fantastic stream, Peter. I've really enjoyed it. It's been fun talking to you. I think people have enjoyed you being here. We'll definitely get you on again, maybe when the game's in early access, or maybe
Cool.
before, or whenever. But yeah, no,
That would
I
be nice.
look forward to having you on again. And by the way, everyone in the chat, I'm sorry for all that crap. I'm still in the process of sorting it out, but yeah.
Hmm.
So yeah, thanks so much, Peter.
Sure.
And yeah, everyone, make sure you go subscribe to his channel. It's in the link in the description. So head down there, subscribe, wishlist his game, treasured on Steam, do
Oh boy.
everything. And yeah, Peter, is there anything else you need to say or
No.
no?
Follow Matt on Twitter. I don't know.
See, this is why I get the guests to ask, because they always like feel bad and then they're like, oh, I'll do it back.
Unfollow Matt and just follow me. That's fine.
Right, you're never coming back on it. Get out. All right. Well, everyone, see you in the next stream where we'll be talking to Hive. Yeah. All right.